started. Let me just really quick. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Um, like I said, I am recording the meeting this evening, just so if folks can't make it tonight, they can always watch the recording and they can catch up. Let me go ahead. I'm just going to share one slide here. Give me 1 second here. Little clunkier with Zoom than I am with Teams, just because I'm not as used to it. But so give me 1 second here. Let's see here. There we go, and share. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, well, again, thanks for joining us tonight. This is actually, and for being flexible with all this crazy weather that we've been having. This is the first meeting of the new year now that we're into February. And so I just wanted to really quickly, before we get into the meat of the meeting, just kind of go over, first of all, the agenda for tonight is we're going to be talking about the community engagement feedback summary. So just kind of going over that. Smith Group will be sharing that information with everybody. And then I'll be talking about the vision, the draft vision statement that we have so far, and then also talking about the guiding principle. So we're going to hopefully have a discussion about that. And if everybody's ready, they can give me feedback as well. So then upcoming meetings, our next meeting will be on February 23rd for the advisory group meeting. That will be an in-person meeting. That'll be at the Franconia Governmental Center. That will be at as far as I know, at the old location on Franconia Road. And we're going to be going over the draft scenarios. So that will be an in-person meeting. And then on March 5th, we will be having our next community open house. Again, that'll allow the community to take a look at the draft scenarios. I just found out today, hot off the press, that it will be at Forestdale Elementary School. So that's a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar where that is, but it's on Elder Avenue. That's kind of between the Sunrise Assisted Living and the Best Buy PetSmart shopping center there. So we'll be having it there in the cafeteria for the community open house meeting. And then we're also planning an online survey for input on the draft scenario. So I just kind of wanted to give everybody kind of a heads up what to expect. I will be updating the meeting invite for that February 23rd meeting so that it reflects the Franconia Governmental Center. Didn't want to send that out today, so because I didn't want to confuse everybody with all the changes in the meetings, et cetera. So, but I will send that out. Okay, well, with that, what I'm going to do is I just want to talk, I'm going to turn this over. I don't know if anybody has any questions, about any of the upcoming meetings or anything before I turn it over to Smith Group to talk about the community engagement. Okay, guess not. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I will stop sharing and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nick or Meryl from Smith Group so that they can talk to you about that, what the community engagement that we've heard so far.
Nick, do you want to share? And I'll go through the first few slides.
Sounds
I'll
like
give a little bit of an introduction to the process that we have gone through and a little bit about what we heard, and then Nick is going to get into it in a little bit more detail. All right, thank you. So we'll start with a summary of the engagement. All right. It's been a wonderful process of engaging with community members and stakeholders. So far, over 300 people have been connected with. We've had over 200, bits of, not bits, but 200 opportunities for feedback that we received. We've had 3 community meetings so far, the kickoff, the visioning session, which was both in person and online, and then the online visioning survey, and we've had a great response from those events. We've had 5 focus group meetings, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail shortly, from business owners, renters, and parents of children under 18, Spanish speakers, older adults, and also from the Land Use Committee was a separate focus group meeting that was staff-led. We've also had 2 advisory group meetings, as you all know, so far, and this is our 3rd. So just a quick summary of some of the major things that we heard, some of the highlights, and we're going to get into each of these in a little bit more detail and how we pulled this information together. So we heard a lot about the importance of pedestrian safety, specifically getting around without a car, sidewalks, protected bike lanes, getting back and forth to key destinations, including the metro. The sense of place. Folks want to see authentic, diverse sense of place, sort of celebrating through heritage and storytelling what this community is all about. There were a lot of comments about diversity of uses. Right now, there are a lot of residential areas, a lot of commercial areas, but the desire to see more mixed use, especially mixed with open spaces and parks. We heard a lot about housing, including increasing the housing choices in the area, and being respectful of the existing neighborhoods as well. And we did hear a lot about the natural environment, about increasing the tree cover, landscaping, and making shade and sustainability, integrating that into future development. And specifically from this group, we did hear a lot of similar comments. Supervisor Lusk spoke about being on the verge of something great, and we certainly agree about that for the Springfield-Franconia area. We heard about the need to preserve the existing mix of residential and commercial and transportation, so to have that sort of a balance in the area. Folks talked about their love for this community, the great support for businesses, and the sense of opportunity that this area affords. We also heard a lot about improving pedestrian safety and walkability, and being able to get everywhere, not only by car, but also on foot and by bicycle. We heard about the desire for areas of increased activity, community-centered events, and different ways to engage community members. And again, we heard about cars and bike lanes and the importance of being able to get to metro and to use transit. We'll get in a little bit more detail here about the focus groups. We heard from business owners, their concerns and their thoughts about the study area. They really want to see the growth of families and the support for their businesses from a mix of age groups throughout the area. They'd like the opportunity for more investment to come in and support through more housing. Accessibility to continue. This area is great for access from highways. So improvements to roads and so on to bring folks to their businesses. I think they appreciate the support for small businesses and not only focusing on large chains. And then they'd like to see the area become more attractive so that folks can get to their businesses again by walking and biking and seeing green space. From the renters and parents of kids under 18. Folks talked about their love for this area, including the schools, the access to metro, the proximity to their workplaces. Folks talked about the need to grow as their families grow in terms of their housing. They talked about the diversity of housing within the area and affordability. They talked about the importance of having green space and parks and playgrounds so that kids can interact and connect to the natural environment. And they talked about convenience and accessibility as being a highlight of living in the area. From the Spanish speakers focus group, we heard also about the desire for access to more parks and green spaces and playgrounds, access to shopping areas and jobs, the importance of pedestrian safety when getting around from place to place, the desire for a sports facility or a teen center, somewhere where youth can meet and have activities together, the importance of the bus system and its reliability throughout the area, and again, about pedestrian safety and especially crossing from the mall, to and from the mall. From the older adults focus group, we heard that housing does currently meet their needs, but they would like the ability to age in place and so have the needs and services met in the community. We heard about sidewalks. Again, you're hearing many common themes here: walkability between neighborhoods and shopping centers. We heard about better crosswalks and lighting, again, to enable folks to get around between their destinations. We heard about a concern over parking reductions and the ability to park at locations that folks are accessing. And then about respecting the existing neighborhoods and ensuring that that quality of life is maintained. At the Land Use Committee meeting, there was discussion of maintaining the suburban low density character of the area. There was discussion of convenience and location, proximity to work and schools that this area affords as being a big highlight of this area. We heard a growing concern about overdevelopment and density and maintaining, mitigating noise impacts from the future development. And we heard about the quality of life and the importance of that, especially access to outdoor spaces and places like Lake Aquatink. And then lastly, we heard about the importance of safety and visual appeal, and so a desire for ensuring coordinated planning so that that family-friendly and cultural offerings can be accessed by neighbors. So now we are going to turn to the next slide, and Nick's going to take us through the community workshop that we did and the different exercises that we used to engage folks and get their input and feedback.
All right, thanks, Meryl. Hi, everybody. Nick Martinazzi with Smith Group. It's nice to see you again. Like Meryl just mentioned, we're going to move through all the great feedback that we received from this workshop and the online survey. Just as a refresher, we did this back in November. We got some really great responses. So if you were there in person, you saw the physical boards. If you did the online survey, you saw a very similar online version. But we had a set of stations throughout the workshop, which we're going to walk through here. And then we'll see the feedback that we got from each of those stations and various activities that everyone got to participate in. So one of the first stations you saw when you came into this workshop or on the online survey was the vision statement and guiding principles. It's here. Everyone got a chance to look at the current vision statement and the current guiding principles and leave comments and their thoughts about how that could shape moving forward. So you'll see 4 comments that we received here. This is just 4 of many comments that we received. And you'll see a lot of this, but we feel like this represented some common themes that we saw from various comments at the station. So we heard a little bit about mixed-use development and multimodal access, um, people really wanting to see a mix of uses throughout the area. So retail, housing, walkability, like we've already mentioned, that was a common theme. Uh, People mentioned a modernized corridor. So integrating modern transportation, enhancing transit options, and really transforming any underutilized properties into mixed-use spaces. We heard about a balance of mobility, so not just walking, but we heard that the car was important in this area as well, and improving traffic safety and flow. And then making sure that the destinations within the area are accessible. So not only are they vibrant and mixed use, but making sure that we can get to those places so that they're well connected uh, to the existing neighborhoods that are in the area already as well. The next station that we had, or the next portion that you went to online, was our Preserve, Enhance, Transform station. This broke the area into um, 3 different areas within the CBC and the TSA. And what we were asking of people is to place either a red, yellow, or green dot um, on this board to represent places that they would like to preserve, enhance, and transform. So you can see some pictures here. We got lots of good dots. And then people also left a lot of comments on those sticky notes as well, which were really great. And everything you're seeing here, just again, is also a reflection of the responses that we got online. So this is a collection from both formats. So some common responses we heard. This is just, like the top 3 from each category. So there's lots more information. But some of the top 3 that we heard from Preserve were the transit commuter garage, grocery stores, and the a lot of Preserve dots and comments on the natural environment, forests, and parks. For Enhance, we saw a lot about the Springfield Plaza and Town Center. Um, we heard about the retail along Amherst Ave and Blacklick Road and the metro station. For Transform, people were placing dots on vacant lots and surface parking, as well as we were seeing interest in the TSA warehouse. So just a few of the comments that we received from this portion of the workshop and survey. But again, what we think we're representing some common themes we were seeing. The natural environment. So really, preserving those natural habitats that exist within the area, like Springfield Forest. We heard a lot about surface parking and what that needs to look like, whether some needs to remain or some needs to be repurposed, and how it can be repurposed. And then received a lot of interest in Backlick Road as well, and really getting a lot of comments about improving crossing and traffic flow in this area. So our next station or survey questions were about land uses. So this asks community members to place a dot on their top land use ideas for the area. So they received a limited number of dots. Forgive me, I forget the exact number, but I think it was about 3. And so they had 3 dots to place on the types of land uses that they thought were most needed in the area. So again, we broke this into 2 areas, the CBC and the TSA. For the most desired in the CBC, number 1 was parks and open space. 2 was small retail restaurants and cafes. 3, residential. In the TSA, we got very similar results, slightly different order. Number 1 being small retail restaurants and cafes, which switched with number 2, parks and open space, and then again, residential at number 3. And then least desired These were just the categories that had the least dots placed on them, which we thought was interesting. Number one was hotel, two office, and three large format retail. Some comments that we received on these boards and online were about mixed use. So really, again, this is a common theme, hearing about a mix of housing, but also a mix of business types. So small business types were called out quite a bit. People were talking about the development and the opportunities for high density, and then as well as the opportunity for pop-ups. So maybe using some of the existing infrastructure like the commuter garage for pop-up markets, or some of these underutilized properties could make use of some pop-up type experiences. All right, so our next station was a very similar activity, but instead of focusing on land uses, we're focusing on parks, public spaces, and streetscape amenities. So some of the categories were pocket parks, urban plazas, streetscape furniture, art, things like that. And these are also split into the CBC area and TSA. So for most desired in the CBC, we heard number one, street trees and vegetation, two, trails and greenways, three, urban and civic plazas. And then at the TSA, number one was trails and greenways, two, street trees and vegetation, and three, urban and civic plazas. So similar to the land uses, we got somewhat similar results here for both the CBC and TSA. Some of the least desired things we heard here. So again, not necessarily saying these aren't needed, but they're the least voted on, were number one, street furniture, two, public art, and three, signage and wayfinding. Some of the comments that we got at this section were talking about pedestrian priority. So maybe where it makes sense, introducing fewer lanes where there's a less focus on traffic to help people get around easier by foot. Removing barriers to access. So this is something we heard earlier, that making sure local residents have what they need to access the local infrastructure and amenities. And then natural preservation, really thinking about some of the forest areas that exist, and again, preserving those and not disrupting those as they are. And then this was our last station and set of questions on the survey, and this was around transportation. So here we were asking people what their most desired modes of transportation. So what would they want to use transportation-wise moving forward? We heard number one, walking and biking, two, car. So those were obvious themes that we've heard throughout, that both the walking and biking and car were important in this area. And three, metro rail, because there's great access to the metro station as well. And then we also asked people to draw out specifically some routes that they were taking. So we were able to view this from the in-person workshop as well as online. And this is probably not a surprise to a lot of people here, but our top three results were people using Franconia Road, Backlick Road, and Frontier Drive. And then some of the comments we got for this portion were on vehicular and bicycle access. This is talking a lot about traffic and reorganizing maybe the road system a little bit, maybe some of the parking lots for a better layout that are, one, better for cars, and two, better for pedestrian access and bicycle access. Walkability, so making these streets more walkable and feel safer to walk and more desirable to walk in. And then transit access, more access to more frequent public transit, and better connection to the metro. Okay, so that was a lot of information. But what were the big picture takeaways from everything that we just presented to you? So I'm not going to read through all this all word for word. I think they were sent out to everybody. If not, I think they will be. But the big picture takeaways we got from all this, and the common themes we were hearing, were make everyday trips possible without a car, the neighborhood scale, convert asphalt to assets, balance density and neighborhood character, greening the public realm, improve identity and wayfinding, design with equity and age friendliness, small businesses and mixed use, and targeting safety hotspots. And that's mostly in reference to crosswalks and traffic. So this is an interesting graphic. What this does is take a bunch of themes and topics and tabulates the amount of mentions that they each got throughout the comments at both the workshop in person and the online survey. So this just, I think, creates a nice visual of what people were talking about the most. Doesn't tell us how they were talking about, but what they were talking about. So number one was green space and environment. Two being transit, so metro and bus. Three, walkability and pedestrians. And then traffic and road design, and so on. You can see the remaining results there, but we thought that was very interesting. All right, and I think that takes us to the draft vision statement.
So I did I believe I did send this out to everybody, but I will resend it after the meeting so that everybody has the presentation. We just wanted to well, first of all, I don't know if anybody had any questions regarding any of the information that Nick and Meryl presented. Just wanted to offer that out there if anybody did have any questions or comments or anything. Okay.
I
Yes.
had a number, Katrina, but it just went too fast. I mean, each slide that went up, I probably could have asked for clarification or how did people pick the same terms? It seems like terms that land use people would use, not the average person taking a survey. Did they just have a check your response that fits that, whichever response fits what you think best, or yeah, I could have commented on probably every one of them with a question. Not that you want to go back and do that, but yeah, it would be nice if we didn't go through so much material and then ask, well, are there any questions? Who can remember everything that just went by?
Sure. Was okay. Well, I don't know if and Nick or Meryl, if you wanted to kind of talk about some of the exercises that were part of the open house and also as part of the survey and how folks answered those.
I think, Nick, if you want to walk people through the methodology for sort of collecting the feedback, I think that might touch on the concern.
Sure. Maybe we'll start here. So there was a lot of different formats that we got feedback in. So we could start with the focus groups, which was very well led by our consultant Bergen Story. But the consultant groups, I mean, the focus groups were discussions. So from those discussions, we were gathering notes and whatnot. And then we would go through those notes and pick out, common themes that we were hearing, etc. And then with the the community workshop, there was two formats for that. So we had the in-person, and we were able to collect the data or the insights in two ways, really. So here, let me go to the slides. I think that might be a little easier. So for example, you'll see on these boards, the data was very easy to get up because people were voting on specific topics, right? So residential, office, hotel, we were counting and just taking the information straight from the boards. But you'll also see that they left comments. So then we would get those comments and we would read through them and again, find the common topics and themes and read through what everyone was saying. And then there was the online version of this too, right? So the online version was very similar. but we were able to get the results a little quicker, but we were getting it in the same format where these exercises where people were picking certain things like the residential, office, hotel, et cetera, that were already set up were very straightforward and we could count, but they were also able, like the people in person, able to leave comments. So in the same way, we read through those comments, organized them by the topics that they were talking in, read through them and found the common themes, and were able to pick up on what people were discussing and why they were discussing it.
So Nick, can I ask a question about that? I see all these pictures. So you put up whatever pictures you wanted, and that's what they had to choose from. So that didn't necessarily lend itself to saying what those people really wanted. It was out of these choices, which do you most relate to, for example? Is that fair enough?
It was a prioritization exercise. So we had a whole series of these different images that represent different uses or park spaces or whatever the topic area was. And we gave folks a limited number of dots so that they would prioritize. It's not exactly a voting exercise, but more like a, telling us what's most important.
And
So I assume that none of the pictures that they were given to choose from, their prioritized, resembled what we already have right now. Is that, would
well,
that be?
well, yeah, Gail, I mean, and just to kind of hone in, those pictures that you're seeing were just kind of meant to be examples of what represents whatever the particular thing might be, whether it would be hotel. We try to get very different types of pictures in there. We worked with Smith Group to kind of, get pictures in there that might represent various different examples of something like I mentioned, hotel or retail or office, that sort of thing. They weren't really it wasn't directly going to the actual image itself. It was more towards the use.
I understand that, but
Hmm.
those pictures show the use as we have right now, for example, in Springfield Plaza.
I think
Some
we
of,
had go ahead, Marilyn. Sorry.
yeah, some of the photos were local examples, but others, are just sort of good examples of that type of use. So we did try to find a lot of local examples that people could actually recognize.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a comment, please. I was able to be in the presentation in person with a group of the Latino community that they live there. First of all, they were very thankful that they have translations. Also, I have to agree that they were the comments that the presenters they just put it in these presentations. That is what the community members that I was with, they were talking about that affordable housing, about to see more parks, the businesses. So I have to agree that the presentation is what I hear from that group of community members, and also the questions that they were doing during the focus group. Also, everything is related what is presented over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or before and we can we have Gail, we can give you a PDF or something of the actual exercises as well. Actually I think they're online actually. They are online underneath the community open house, so they're available there as well. Okay. All right. Well, let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and move on then. Let me share my screen here real quick. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, we wanted to present that to you all first so that you kind of had, if you weren't able to participate in the open house or in the survey, you could see, well, first of all, what the exercises were like. Second of all, you could actually hear from us what the feedback was. During those community meetings, the online surveys, and during the focus groups, because that is the information that Smith Group has taken, and they've really they've put together some draft vision statement, and also some draft guiding principles that then they worked with us with staff to kind of revise those a little bit. And so right now tonight we're hoping to kind of get your feedback and discuss those with you, and also they are again draft, and they are right now a work in progress. Anyway, so what I have in front of you, this slide here, I just kind of wanted to kind of just before we jump into the vision statement and the guiding planning principles, it's just to kind of lay out the structure of the plan so you can understand the purpose of the vision statement and what that applies to, and also the guiding planning principles. Because in the county, the comprehensive plan, it's organized into from the top up to the county-wide policies, and those are in our policy plan, and those are policies for the entire county. And then we work our way down, kind of from that larger geography down to smaller geographies. And then we get into the area plans and the planning districts. And for this, this planning study, we're looking at the Springfield district, and we're in area 4 of the comprehensive plan. Again, that's a larger geography. We're not going to be, looking at that larger geography. So where we're going to be focusing is on the TSA and the CBC. And that's really where, and that's the Franconia-Springfield area. And that's where really this kind of vision statement applies, and the guiding planning principles for that area. So for that TSA and for the CBC. And then we'll be moving on at our next meeting to the scenarios, and that's kind of where we get more into those land units. We get into the neighborhood and kind of more site specific, some of those recommendations. But the vision, it kind of sets the tone for all of this, and those guiding planning principles, they're kind of an overarching framework that we can use when we look at that more specific area. So let me go ahead and keep moving here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just jump in. And again, so the draft vision statement, we currently in the plan, we have a current vision statement. And so we're looking obviously in this exercise and this planning study to kind of update that, and modernize it and make it fit what we're looking at now and also for the future of the area. So, you know, the proposed draft vision statement is the area will transform into a green, sustainable, more walkable and connected place with added housing and a mix of uses to serve residents, employees, and visitors, and support existing and future businesses. Visually appealing and accessible public spaces and streetscapes will be created to foster gathering and social interaction. Walkability and multimodal connectivity will be improved with additional pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and enhanced public transit to get people to their destinations. Trees, parks, and green spaces will be added and integrated to promote recreation, connected to nature, and improved quality of life for all. So that's the draft vision statement that we're looking at right now, and that we're also, wanting to get everybody's to get your feedback on. Obviously, what in writing this and Smith Group and working with staff, we considered the things that we were hearing as part of that community engagement. So I would like to say that if anybody has any questions or comments, kind of as we work our way through that, I'm happy to kind of to talk about that right now and kind of stop on each element. If anybody does have any questions on this or any comments. Also, I'd like to add, if there's anything, I realize sometimes in a meeting you may not have something right now. You might, tomorrow over dinner or whatever, you might be thinking about it. And so, or, tomorrow or in the coming week, if you do have anything to add to this, or, you're welcome to email me and provide written comment as well on this. And we will be returning to this, again, but we're just kind of trying to get everybody's input earlier in the process. Okay, yes.
I'm looking at the current vision statement, the last sentence of that. Why was that not reflected in the new one? I don't see anything about the surrounding neighborhoods mentioned. I see over here in the new one, visual an emphasis on support existing and future businesses. I don't see anything that says support existing and future homes.
Okay, so you're saying you'd like something added to support the surrounding neighborhoods?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, support. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Gail. Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments? Okay.
This is Linda Hallman.
Yeah. Yes, Linda.
I'm seeing there is a lack completely, and I don't see it in the original one either, the current vision statement, but it is something that is also very important, which is the safety and security of the area.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what the wording would be, and I don't want to have it overshadow in a way that would make things sound like we have a massive problem or something, but it just is something that should be, I think, included, especially as we talk about added green spaces, which I love and adore, but it's also there's just we have the little bit about the pedestrian bicycling infrastructure, but just the overall sense of safety and security is something that is important to, I think, has been brought up in other conversations.
Sure. And I just want to mention before, so this is the overall vision statement, and for sure, yes, Linda, we do have the principles, and even Gail, what you were talking about. I'll move on to the principles, and those also do touch on this. This is just kind of an overall statement, kind of a guiding vision statement. So tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and I'll move on to the principles, and then we can because I think some of those concepts are in those as well.
Hey, Katrina.
Yes.
This is Steve Levinson.
Yeah. Hi,
hey,
Steve.
The two things that I have a little trouble with in this is the green and can you go back to it?
Yeah. Oops.
Thank you.
Yep.
The green and sustainable. The green, for instance, there is a definition of green in the lower part, which is green spaces. So what's the green up top? Is that you can't have plastic bottles, or you're going to ban plastic bags? What does the green mean? And I would rather just delete it rather than argue about what it means, because people could get really crazy on that one. And sustainable is the same way. How do we measure sustainable? Raise taxes? Is that how you get sustainable? I mean, those two words just don't seem to have metrics that I'm trying to look into the future and what metrics we're going to apply to this vision statement to say we did it. And those two words trouble me.
Okay, so as far as metrics, okay. Okay. Well, I think the idea behind green sustainable would be that the infrastructure could, for example, the infrastructure could support the area. Also, as far as the construction is concerned, that the new construction in the area would be sustainable, would be green. Also, just right now the area has a lot of not a lot of green. It is kind of one of the things I heard was lacking in open space. But we can look at that, Steve, and think about how also the idea of how would we look at that as far as metrics are concerned. So okay.
Going back to what Linda was suggesting, why not just I agree with Steve, take out green and sustainable and just say transformed into a safe, walkable and connected place. And then put your green and sustainable. They just seem like buzzwords, Katrina. You hear them all the time. We have to have sustainable. We have to have green. They were talking about a green something or other up by the current government center, Franconia Government Center. Turns out it's going to be a postage size piece of quote greenery or public place. So that just seems buzzwords. Just my 2 cents.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay.
I just have
Yeah.
a comment, please.
Sure.
I would like to see something that involves equality, since there are so many communities involved, and since all these communities, they want to see affordable housing, like the social economic situation of the different communities. So I think when we said equity, we are just including all of that.
Okay.
I don't know if I just said the right idea, but I think equity will be something probably that will be involved.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I think again we'll move on to the principles and some of I think what everybody was talking about is also can be seen in there too as well. So these are the first kind of set of guiding principles here. You can see again on the left, those are the existing guiding principles, and on the right you have the new ones. So for land use and development, you have encourage transit ready, medium, and again, I just want to reflect that a lot of what we have in here reflects what we heard as part of the community engagement. So encourage transit ready, medium and high density mixed use development and redevelopment to allow residents, employees and visitors to live, work, play and shop in the area. Provide a variety of housing choices, especially multi-family housing to accommodate families of all sizes and types and to support local businesses. Ensure that new development is respectful of existing established neighborhoods through design strategies that minimize impacts. Promote high quality development and redevelopment through proper siting, excellent design, and sustainable materials and systems. Foster a resilient commercial base that supports established businesses and attracts new businesses to provide opportunities for employment and shopping. I'm going to go ahead and proceed through the rest of them so that you all can see kind of the breadth of everything that we're talking about. And then I'm going to go ahead and come back then I'll start back at land use. Okay. So that way you kind of have an overview of everything. Okay, so public spaces and placemaking. Again, we used to say identity and heritage. Now we're talking about public spaces and placemaking. Create an accessible network of public spaces and park experiences consistent with the urban parks framework, including active, passive, contemplative, social, and natural cultural recreation. Integrate high quality streetscape, street furnishings, lighting, vegetation, buffering of pathways, and amenities. Express the area's multicultural identity and diversity through public art and other design opportunities. Enhance pedestrian safety through improved lighting. Ensure streets, sidewalks, and public spaces are well maintained, clean, and welcoming. Identify, preserve, and promote awareness of heritage resources. Okay, so for mobility, again, it was transportation and connectivity. Now we're referring it to as mobility and connectivity. There are two slides for this because there was a lot on that. So enhance multimodal connectivity throughout the area to major destinations and local and regional public transit, including the Joe Alexander Transportation Center, which includes Metro Rail and VRE, and the Springfield CBC Commuter Garage to better serve residents and employees. Transform existing roadways into complete streets designed for all users, including pedestrians, cyclists, transit riders, and motorists. Integrate traffic calming strategies to enhance safety and reduce collisions. Create smaller blocks and walkable streets with new development and redevelopment. Second slide is encourage safe bicycling through the integration of protected bike infrastructure. Ensure a continuous and connected active transportation system throughout the area and to major area destinations. Expand and connect trails and greenways in the area and connect them to areas beyond. And integrate access to micromobility options such as bike share and e-scooters and microtransit with development. Okay, and then the last slide is it was environment and sustainability. Again, the new is on the right-hand side. Preserve, protect, and enhance existing resource protection areas, environmental quality corridors, and conservation corridors in accordance with county policies while recognizing these features as assets that enhance the quality of life in the area. Add parks and active green spaces that accommodate all users. Increase tree canopy cover throughout the area and as development occurs. And integrate climate responsive and resilient building and site design strategies that align with county policies and the environmental element of the policy plan. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to start with the land use. I know that there was, let me look okay, hold on just one second. Okay. Oh, sorry. Did I miss somebody? I'm sorry. Dominic, I think, did I miss you having your hand raised earlier? Sorry if I did.
Hey, Katrina. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry, yeah. I'm in the car, so I'm multitasking here coming from another meeting. But I read through this earlier and I've just a couple of quick questions and thoughts. One thing I keyed in on what was before this? Was it the statement? What was that?
That was the vision statement. Yeah.
The vision statement. I'm wondering if there isn't enough in the guiding principles here to remove we lead with the word green in the vision statement, which gives me a little pause. Not that we don't want things to be sustainable and green, but I don't know that that's like the first word we want to throw out. And that just struck me as like, is that the right place for that? Or, I mean, anyway, that was just the thought I had. And then I flew the principles. We get into a lot of sustainability and tree cover and all of those things. So I would offer that for consideration for the group.
Sorry for the getting back.
Under the transportation piece, is it appropriate to insert the tags service in here, since that services primarily most of the area in which we're talking about?
11.
Okay. So in the mobility and connectivity. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, and I want to say, was it in the, I know it's in the plan elsewhere, and I think it might be actually currently in the plan in the transportation there. This is a plan right now that's currently very heavy on transportation, but yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm just asking if it's
um
appropriate. I'm not, I'm
yeah,
just
I'm
suggesting,
not sure. Like it, yeah, that's getting kind of a little bit specific. I mean, I think it would
weedy.
be,
Okay.
yeah, support, yeah, we're getting a little bit in the weeds. It would be more supporting. I think we have something about supporting local bus routes or supporting. So we typically try to, in the principles, kind of stay broader. So we would talk about more like transit service or a bus transit service, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I think that's fine. I mean, I
Sure.
think a lot of what is reflected here, um, is incredibly helpful because these are, the foundational things that we all want these
Hmm.
redevelopment and new development opportunities to come in with, and they can then, they can point to the plan, the planning commissioner, the supervisor, the staff can point to the plan as these are the principles which the community agreed to. So when, you know, when certain voices come out and that are contrary to this, we can at least have some framework to point to that there was some serious thought and consideration given to the way this is crafted, and this reflects sort of the community's general support. So I appreciate everyone's work on this.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. Um, Gail, I believe you're owner. I don't know if Gail, are you? I think it's you that has your hand up. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sorry, I had
Yeah.
it muted.
Okay.
Can we go back to the screen that mentions multifamily buildings or houses?
Which Okay. So the going back to
First one there, provide
okay.
affordable housing choices, especially multifamily housing. What does that mean?
Well, multifamily would mean either not would either mean apartment or a condo style. So a lot, building with multiple families in it. So apartment building or condo.
Apartment building or condo.
Hmm.
The things that I've seen from, for example, from MERVs are not thinking about multifamily housing. I mean, those apartments, and they're not condos, they're apartments, are one or two people in those things. So I'm just curious as to what will you do to help the multifamily housing out?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. You said that
The
that
places I've seen for the places that are supposed to be going up as affordable housing aren't servicing multifamily housing. I mean, they aren't made for it. We've talked to them, to the people who are doing it, and they're for couples or singles, not for multifamily. So where does the multifamily housing come in?
that is the terminology used for typically that's kind of the umbrella term that we use for either apartments or for condominiums. It's the way to describe that because typically in our comp plan we would never talk about types of ownership. Like we wouldn't say apartments because we don't, talk about the types of owners, and we don't get down to the types of units either. So, I mean, we'll break it down into, we'll break it down to by types of uses. We'll talk about single family detached, single family attached, which are townhomes, and then we will then typically jump to kind of multifamily because in this particular area within the boundaries of the planning area that we're talking about, the CBC and the TSA, those would be kind of that type of housing that would be most appropriate for the area within the boundaries of the study area.
So multifamily is just a matter of putting more than one family in the unit.
Yes, more than one family in one building. That's the term that we use for
Okay.
multifamily. Yep. Hmm. Okay. Um, so I guess so I'm just starting with land use, and I don't know if anybody has any comments on kind of some of these principles that we have for land use here. Just kind of want to give anybody an opportunity if you wanted to um, provide any comments or if you had any questions.
Trina, this is Steve. What's transit ready mean?
Meaning that it's really a kind of a newer term that we're using and that we're trying to, it was actually something we introduced just recently into the policy plan. So trying to think before something, before we develop an area, um, in encouraging development that would be able to accept transit, that would be appropriate for that we can design it in such a way that we can accommodate transit in the area. So that's really what transit ready is. So basically, kind of preparing for it up front versus kind of being more versus being kind of reactive. So that just allows us to kind of put that thinking about the infrastructure ahead of time instead of kind of just with the development and then kind of retrofitting transit into that. Whether that might be, some areas might have enhanced bus service, thinking about that when we are developing areas, or various different maybe micro transit, smaller transit that would serve the area. So that's really what that term is getting at.
So I don't want to be dense here, but if you had two apartments and one was transit ready and one wasn't, what would they look like that would be different? One would have less parking, or one would have a place to catch the transit up front in front of the building, or what would that look like?
Well, it's really more putting kind of like that infrastructure in so that we can accommodate transit in the area. So it's more of a looking at like the overall area, um, and just allowing for that transit to come into place in the area. And some of it is just the mere intensity of it. So it's much more difficult to have transit if you have lower density than having a medium to higher intensity mixed use, because you can much better service transit in those areas. So we're just trying to, even if a transit infrastructure like an enhanced bus route, in this case, even like in other areas, we might be looking at bus rapid transit. Not to say that that necessarily be the case here, but being able to accommodate those types of transit. And it may not necessarily be one particular building, but again, these are principles that we're looking at for the entire area, if that makes sense to you.
Okay. Katrina, aren't we also isn't also encouraging builders to think of this on the front end rather than have you all go back to them after they've already drawn what they
Yeah,
think
I
they
mean,
want to build? So,
right,
factor that in so you're not taking units or whatever away, you're making room for it out front.
right. That would
Yeah.
also be the
Yeah,
case if
especially
you're
for like the
looking at.
multifamily or the larger developments you said.
hmm Okay. Anything else here? Okay, I'll go ahead and move on to okay, so this is public spaces and placemaking. So this is talking about a network of public spaces. Again, that was a lot of what we heard from the outreach that we did. Um, Integrating a high quality streetscape, so that it does create a unique identity for the area. Lighting, vegetation, buffering. We also want to recognize the unique identity and diversity of this area, because it is a very diverse area. And one of the things was too, it was making sure that we pedestrians feel safe, whether it's through lighting. Um, and then a lot of the comments that we heard were just basically about, and again, tailoring this more to a principle. A lot of people were concerned about kind of just general maintenance in the area, and so kind of looking at that, and we had comments about trash and just things not being maintained. So to translate that into more of a principle would be to ensure streets, sidewalks, and public spaces are well maintained, clean, and welcoming. And that speaks to, that being a welcoming place, a place where people want to come. And then just being identify, preserve, and promote awareness of heritage resources in the area. Any questions on this particular one or comments from anybody? Just want to make sure
This is Gail again.
Yeah, hi, Gail.
Sorry.
Yep.
The multicultural identity and diversity through public art and other design opportunities. I thought public art was one of the things that was low down on the priority list.
In what way, I guess? I wasn't sure.
It was the list that was on the right-hand side and what people thought was most important. And public art was pretty far down that list, if I recall.
Okay.
Well, wondering about who picks the public art. I know that somebody thought that it was a good idea to put public art in front of the Marriott building over on Brandon. And we were given a choice about that here in Springfield. We were just told, here's the artist, here are the renderings, which one do you like best? That was it. That was the choice that was given to the community. Now, do you want it? What do you want it to look like? It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't add anything, and I think it's anyway. It's not a plus.
Sure. Well, we typically there are multiple ways that by which we can incorporate public art. I mean, obviously, the one of that we often get is through the development process. Is that we get public art that way. The other way then is actually through we have now a mural program too. That's another way. So there are multiple ways that we do that. It is it is a way to kind of reflect the neighborhood's kind of identity, or like that multicultural element. It is also as part of this plan when we move into the kind of the scenarios. It might be the opportunity where we identify where we think there are opportunities for public art. So that is another opportunity that we can look at. So as part of this process, we can identify areas that we might think that would be appropriate. Okay, so
the murals, there were two murals that went up. One was on the top of the commuter garage, so it's not really something that's in the public eye very much unless you're up there. The overlook, I think it's called. The other on the side, where Brandon Avenue, the elevator, it's right on that thing. And
right.
But our community was very divided on whether they even wanted murals. But again, it was decided by the people who were doing the who's Doug Loescher?
There with the Revite section.
That we needed murals, period. And here are the artists that we're thinking about. So we were allowed to have one representative, and they went through the artists and the type of work that they did, and they selected one. But as I said, the community was very divided, and I've heard divided comments about the mural that did go up. I think it's pretty tasteful compared to some of the murals I've seen in other areas.
Right. Well, I mean, and honestly, Gail, I mean, with art, I think there will always be the potential for some people to like it and some people to not like it. I think we need to, I mean, we're trying to but it is a way to create an identity in a community. It really is. I mean, if you go throughout cities and counties throughout, throughout the United States, you're going to see you just see lots of examples of public art that really do reflect the identity of the community, and it's just one way that we can use. And again, I mean, I think we typically a county, we always try to get the community involved, and again, it's very difficult sometimes. We're never going to land wholly on, not everybody's going to wholly agree on what the art should be, but we really do, as part of that public process, try to come, up with something that the community the community likes. But again, not everybody might not like it. So anyway, but like I said, in this process, we can, we could identify places that public art might be a good place, and talk about what that kind of identity might be, and what the identity of the community should be reflected in art. So let me see, Dominic.
Hey, thanks, Katrina. Two things. One on streetscapes, and this may not be the appropriate place, but it occurred to me, when would we call out precedent images or settings for streetscape that we do like in the study area that we would like to see replicated? Again, it may not be here, but as you're working through the rest of the process, there may be not, if it's not already shown somewhere else in the next layer, once you get past this, we should think about where that fits in appropriately.
Sure. And that will be as part of the next layer in this process. And I don't know, Meryl or Nick, if you wanted to kind of talk, because I know we have talked about kind of the next steps in the process, because that is something that we're doing as part of this. And so I'm sorry, Meryl, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you don't mind kind of addressing that, that would be great.
No problem. Streetscape is a very important part of the process, and we're going to identify in our upcoming scenarios areas where we feel like there should be a focus on improved streetscape. And I think Katrina, there's a design guidelines that will come
after
following that process.
Yeah. So as part of this process, we'll kind of as Meryl spoke about, that will kind of be kind of forming like the beginning of that process. And then following this, because usually what we do in the comprehensive planning time, we do a larger study like this, that for a CBC or a TSA, we typically do have design guidelines for those areas. Great. So we kind of have to go through this comp plan process, and then we have like kind of really those more very specific of diagrams, those streetscape diagrams that will show that.
Excellent. And then I guess sort of tangential to that, you talked about the, for lack of a better phrase, like the cleanliness or the upkeep of said streetscape. And I'm wondering if, since you have access to sort of the full commentary, if that was a reflection of, VDOT, as we all know, is responsible for the right-of-way. Is it the right-of-ways that are not being maintained in a cleanly fashion? Is that something that, again, further down the process, where there's the design guidelines, or you get onto a case-by-case basis where you're into the proffers, that you're asking property owners to better maintain, to the extent that they're able to, without sort of running afoul of VDOT saying you're meddling in the right of way. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think really honestly, a lot of what we heard was probably would land more on the private property owners, because a lot of what we heard was trash. I think we specifically heard shopping carts, I think was one of the more specific things. But I think it was just the general kind of upkeep of some of the areas. So yes, I know it's VDOT, like there's only so much you can do with VDOT. And then I know we have in the CBC, we have the maintenance program of kind of some of that streetscape there, which does, fall on, the county does maintain some of that streetscape, the brick and the acorn lighting and that sort of thing. But then in addition to that, it's really maintenance of kind of the private property.
property itself. Yeah, understood. I mean, it's a helpful call out. It really is. I agree. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Hmm.
And Dominic, I really appreciate that. This is Graham, by the way. I work with Katrina. That's something as we get into the discussion about kind of what would be the ideal planned streetscape, because we have some planned streetscapes in the plan today, and as we look at modifications to it, I think it's a good idea to keep that in mind of like what's something that VDOT can realistically maintain in an appropriate manner, so that we're not shooting for something that can't be maintained long term. So I think it's a really good comment. We can take that into consideration as we get further into it.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on then. Okay, so this is the kind of mobility and connectivity. There are two slides here. So I don't know, Dominic, I don't know if you had your hand up before, if you have more comments on this particular one.
Sorry. Sorry about.
No problem. No problem, Linus. Just want to make sure. So, this is just where, a lot of what we heard were improving the conditions for pedestrians and bicyclists. This area has a lot of transit options, and so kind of connecting to those, having complete streets. We're not, again, it's never to ignore the motorist or somebody in a car, but we're also wanting to look at the pedestrian, look at the bicyclist, look at folks micro transit, looking other forms of transportation. So that's really kind of what we're looking at here, and just kind of trying to have the principles of making this area more walkable, more bikeable, and still recognizing that people do use their vehicles and travel through this area. Yeah. Okay. Next slide then. Okay, just again, a lot of the same things. Active transportation, trails, connecting to other areas as well. So, okay. And then lastly, we have this environmental and sustainability. These are, so for the first bullet, just so everybody's aware, these are specific, so resource protection areas, environmental quality corridors, and conservation corridors. Those are areas that we currently have already in I mentioned our policy plan. So just kind of trying to tie which is in our policy plan, kind of tying it to this area, and then really recognizing, because this area does have we have resource protection areas, and we also have EQCs, environmental quality corridors, and just recognizing those areas and trying to incorporate those into the development of the area, and how can we kind of use those areas as, while still protecting them, use those as assets, and enhance the area basically. And then just a lot of what we heard was parks and active green spaces, wanting, more trees. And then this last one is really just, again, tying back to our policy plan, so that we're not kind of, we're just tying it back to policies that we already have, and kind of just strengthening those for this specific area. So I don't know if anybody else had any additional comments or questions. Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to put my hand up. I'm sorry. I'm just being.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fine. Gail, go for it.
I'd like to see Lake Accotink mentioned somewhere in there. Lake Accotink is one of the gems of Fairfax County, especially this area. It's the only lake that is available to the lower income people that was mentioned in the national study even of the demographics. And I'd like to see more attention brought to the keeping and maintaining and to move this whole dredging thing along. I know you can't mention all that there, but Lake Accotink ought to get a sentence in there somewhere because it's really the prize of our area.
Okay. Yeah, I think what we can do, Gail, is we might again in the principles, it might I don't want to say it's getting into the weeds because I know what we really want to be able to do is to connect to those kind of stream valley corridors and to the surrounding kind of resources that we have, park resources. And so in these guiding principles, we may not specifically call out Lake Accotink. And I know it's I think there are other parts of the plan that we might be able to do that, but we'll look at that though. We can look at it. Because I know it is a big you know, a large resource that's just not that's close to the area. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to. I just stopped. Anyway, let me go back to the slide here. Sorry about that. Just didn't mean to pop out. There you go. Okay. Anybody else then? Okay.
Katrina,
Yeah.
Katrina, just real quick on Gail's note, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that Gail we've looked at from a variety of angles has been connections to some of the existing environmental quality corridors and parks in the area. So I agree with you. I mean, Accotink, it's upstream of the of the area, but getting people to the CCT onto trails that are in open space and then onto the park systems, I think that is a really big priority for this area, given that there's just not that much green space, within the vicinity. So I agree with you, and I think we can take a look at that for sure.
Thank you. You know, it's connected to a variety of places upstream from us and to downstream. And it's important to this community.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. Last call. I just want to make sure any other questions. Okay. I don't see any other, and I don't see anything in the, I will resend out this presentation to everybody. And please do, if you have any kind of written comments that you want to provide, please provide those to me via email. That would be great. Or call me. That's fine. You can call me. You can email me, however you want to contact me. And we can also our next meeting will be February 23rd, Monday, February 23rd. That will be an in-person meeting. I will be updating that meeting invite this evening or tomorrow first thing. With the information will be at the Franconia Governmental Center. It'll be at the current governmental center on Franconia Road in the community room. We probably can also, if you have any comments, then we could, also entertain those then as well. But I think we'll have a pretty full agenda with going over the three scenarios next time. So anyway, and also I recorded this evening. So if anybody, wants to has any questions or anything, that will be available. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you joining this evening. And again, thanks for your flexibility and the changing of the date and everything. And I hope to see everybody on the 23rd in person. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Katrina.
you.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.